Hello one and all, Jasper here, and I am so sorry for the amount of time it has taken me to come out with this video. I wasn't lying when I said that episode 6 broke me a bit, and it was tough to motivate myself to keep going with this series, especially because I have like 8 other video ideas I would much rather do. But don't worry, I'm done procrastinating and being a little bitch. I threw away my blankie, so now it's time to act like a man and talk shit about this episode. Let's go! Holy shit, this episode was good. I mean, damn good. At least, I think it is. Though there is a strong possibility that since my standards have dropped to such a low level, anything that even approaches average writing comes off as a miracle to me. Either way, I am pleasantly surprised. Like previous episodes, I'll be skipping inaccuracies that have already been brought up in those episodes, so if you want to make sure you know every single change, make sure to check out the other videos I made covering them. Until then, let's jump in. Let's start off with King's Landing, where we see Aemon Targaryen dismiss seeing members of the Kingsguard who were protecting Alicent and Helaena during the riots and sending them off towards the wall. Since the riots never happened, there was never a need or justification for Aemon to dismiss them in such a manner, though there is no mention at all of any members of the Kingsguard taking the black. Now, a fun little topic in the show continuity is, does Aemon have any justification to remove these men from the Kingsguard? I feel your average viewer will say yes, because the Kingsguard sort of made the riots worse when they hacked off a man's arm. But seriously, if you are a protector to the Queen, it's your job to hack at those who are specifically coming after the Queen and touching them. After all, what if he had a knife in his other hand? Try to pull this shit against the First Lady, or husband, of the next president of the US, and count yourself lucky if you're not full of lead at the end of the day. So, I prefer that Aemon's main motivation is that he looks at those that Aegon appointed to be Kingsguard as not worthy of the title, and since he has every intention to become king, he might as well get rid of them to replace them with those more capable later. Jumping over to Harrenhal, we have Daemon finally getting the support of the Riverlands, a task that should have taken 2 episodes at most, finally coming to its conclusion. With that said, I don't have anything new to add as far as discrepancies, but I do want to say that overall, this scene was just good. It honestly reminded me of some of the scenes we would get in the original Game of Thrones. It's so odd when this show gets those high moments, but it's always nice when it does, as rare as it may be. Now, in the previous episode I mentioned that both Adam and Alan attempted to claim dragons in the books, but I very tactfully left out the results of Alan since I knew I could cover it in this episode. In the show, Corlys and Alan have a little back and forth, and he seems to float the idea of Alan making his own attempt, to which he promptly refuses. In the books, Alan first made an attempt to look for the wild dragon named Grey Ghost, but could not even find him. He then tried to bond with Sheepstealer, who was having none of it and blew flames at him, catching his cloak on fire. Adam rushed in to put the fire out while Sea Smoke drove Sheepstealer away. Alan was quite heavily burned from the ordeal after, but counted himself lucky as he was still alive, a fate many dragon seeds could not share with him. And despite me saying that this episode is probably the best one in the series, it is not invulnerable to just garbage ideas. We see Rhaena leaving the Vale, just fucking off and running into the outskirts with no food and water, and nobody notices? I know Rhaena is a minor useless character filling the shoes of someone far better, but let's not forget, this is the daughter of Daemon Targaryen, the king consort to Rhaenyra. She's a fucking princess, so how the fuck is no one keeping an eye on her? It's not like she can get out of sight quickly either. They're not in a dense-ass forest. Anyone could just glance over and see her hauling ass in her dress and then go after her. Fuck me. I hope that when she finds Sheepstealer in the next episode, we see the dragon burn this dumb bitch alive. Now that would be an amazing subversion of my expectations. We can check on Jace here a bit, who seems to be very much against Rhaenyra's plan in allowing bastards to try and tame dragons, which is incredibly hypocritical of Jace and not in an interesting way. Apparently, it was because he felt like his ability to tame dragons was what made him special when... Nah, bitch. What makes you special, and of course, special, is that you came out of Rhaenyra's cunt. It was never because you have a dragon. After all, I don't know if you noticed, but your enemies are dragon riders, and all of them could probably kick your ass in a fight. Even Helena. Eventually, we get a little smuggling operation being enacted from the Blacks to get bastards from King's Landing to Dragonstone. Obviously, this never took place in the books because there were plenty of bastards on Dragonstone who could try and bond with the dragons. Also, this smuggling happening without any issue seems very, very unlikely. Larry should have heard about this if he was even halfway decent at his job, and you would think this would be quite difficult to do since Aemon has locked the city down. But no, it'll be super easy, barely an inconvenience, as all you have to do is cut to them getting on the boats and let the audience justify how it happened for the writers, cause they're not capable of doing it themselves. Now, I've been ignoring all of Alicent's scenes in this episode, which I would recommend for most of the episodes as it drastically improves them, but also they are very few and short in this episode. Maybe that's why this one is so far the best. Either way, in regards to her going to the forest to swim, yeah, less than nothing about this happened in the books. I have heard she was trying to drown herself, in which case she did a very shit job at it, and there's some talk about it being to clear her mind, but honestly, I don't care. If these were cut, nothing of importance would have been lost. Back over in Dragonstone, Rhaenyra has a bit of a confrontation with the Dragon Keepers. They seem to be refusing to aid the bastards with their bonding because they're not pure? This is 7 layers of bullshit, as they assisted Darkland in attempting to bond with dragons, and by comparison, these guys have far more dragon blood. And it can't be an issue of purity because they also trained Jace, Luke, Aegon, and Aemon, who are all, at most, half Valyrian. Not to mention this bald scrotum-looking fucker talks as if he has a strong loyalty to the customs of old Valyria. But the Dragon Keepers were founded more than a century after the doom of Valyria, and in the show, it appears to be a quite diverse group, such as Andals, people from the Summer Islands, and all sorts, so it seems unlikely they would have such a devotion to these supposed traditions that we know nothing about. Seems like a useless conflict that was not needed. Or maybe it was done to justify this next scene, because who the fuck thought it would be a good idea to walk every single one of these bastards out to tame a dragon and have all your guards line up to prevent them from escaping because you know shit's gonna hit the fan. Not only does it seem needlessly cruel on the part of Rhaenyra, but also incompetent. Call me crazy, but if you don't want an animal to startle and lash out, resulting in killing everyone in a single breath attack, sending them in one at a time seems like a far better way to go about this. And I know this kind of sounds hypocritical coming from me, as I've been bitching about every time they remove moments that could possibly paint Rhaenyra in a bad light, but this does not work at all with how she's been portrayed and characterized in the show. And it's also just plain stupid. I can't help but worry that the writers legit don't think this is a terrible evil act, which is possible, considering one of the main writers, Sarah Hess, commented on all the people who died to Rhaenys in the first season as not counting because they are small folk. Either way, how the taming of the dragons was by comparison much simpler. People would volunteer and then be directed to the dens of any of the free dragons, including some of the wild ones. They either succeeded or became a burnt snack, but presumably, they were not sent in a massive group because I'm guessing seeing even the first one get torched in such a manner would have resulted in damn near everyone turning around and getting the fuck out of there. Which is what happens in the show, and funny enough, that just angers me even more because why fucking do it this way? Send them in one at a time, and if they get munched or eaten, just tell the others like, oh, they did it, they got a dragon, don't worry, we got plenty, go ahead. Now we have the final scene of the episode. Ulf, who bonded with Silverwing, flies over King's Landing to act as bait to lure Aemon to Dragonstone so that all of the dragon riders could pounce on him. This didn't happen in the books because it is a terrible idea. Sending Ulf for any of the dragon seeds risks Aemon knowing something is up immediately, as he knows what dragons are tamed and what aren't, and would recognize Silverwing and instantly know Rhaenyra had somehow gotten a random dragon rider and likely would have gotten more, which is probably why he turns around before getting too close. For this plan to have any reasonable success, Rhaenyra or Jace would have to be the ones to go in as bait, but given how important they are, it's possible they decided that was too risky and put Ulf's life on the line as he was easily the most disposable of the dragon seeds. Though this was risky, as what if Vhagar rolled another nat 20 on a sneak check, like she did against Luke and Rhaenys? Ulf wouldn't stand a chance. And that is it. I have to say, going over it like this, maybe this episode isn't quite as good as I thought. But still, Easily the best one of the entire series so far. Now, just one more episode and I'll be caught up and can work on the more fun videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them, and until then, be safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.